Hello and welcome back to another episode of Everything Athletes. I'm your host, Kim Carducci, former Division I swimmer and existential thinker. This is a super exciting episode. It's been a few weeks since we actually released an episode, and if you are a loyal follower, I promise we will get back to regular programming in a couple months after this big project launches. But this episode is so special because we are announcing and reading chapter 1 of our book, The Eye of the Tiger. This has been almost a year in the making, I think. I quit my corporate job last November to set up the website everythingathletes.com, to create this podcast, to write a book. The book actually started last summer, so last July pretty much. So it's been almost a year in the making, and I'm so excited for what's to come over the next few months, and I'm trying not to stress over all of the last minute details and things that I need to get done in order to self-publish this much needed and long overdue analysis about mental health in the world of sports. So in this episode today, I will be reading chapter 1 from our book. There are 20 chapters, the 20th chapter being the closing thoughts chapter. I'm still in the final few weeks of editing with my editor, so I guess that table of contents is still subject to change, but for right now, it looks like there's about 20 chapters, and it's an entire analysis of mental health in sport. We dive into the athlete identity, our attachments to being an athlete, all of the ramifications of that. And then the second half of the book is a self-help guide to navigating defeat, injury, and retirement. So, pardon the colloquial language, but why defeat sucks, how to get through defeat, why injury sucks, how to get through injury, and why retirement sucks and how to get through retirement. So pretty big life moments that we're tackling, but in my opinion, there is not that much guidance or advice or help out there that's actually effective for the modern athlete journey to look at these moments and offer practical wisdom on how the heck to get through them. So you will definitely learn, if you follow me and you follow our Instagram and you follow the content, you'll definitely learn why I decided to do this in the first place and why I struggled finding sources out there, including podcasts, including books, including people themselves, including YouTube videos, including therapy. There wasn't out there what I was looking for to help me figure out my own mind and figure out my own identity as an athlete. And it was causing me a lot of problems. And that's a whole other story, which you can totally buy the book, totally pre-order the book. This episode is coming out on Tuesday, July 13th, which is our pre-release of the book. You can find all of the details about the book on our website, everythingathletes.com. Just scroll down and navigate to the Eye of the Tiger book. But in my own perspective, I was struggling being so competitive. I was totally the opposite of compassionate with myself, with other people. I struggled in friendships. I struggled in personal relationships. I struggled in jobs. I struggled in my career. I struggled with myself. I was just so unhappy and burning out in so many ways in my life, just with myself and everything and everyone around me. And I had a heartbreaking moment, which I detail in my book and in my story about the current pitfall that I had with my ex-boyfriend now. But I detail how my athlete identity was so ingrained in me, making me this perfectionist, competitive, no fault, no room for error robot machine, which kind of works when you're an athlete. Of course, it's the hard way to be, but if you're an athlete and you have a specific goal, being a robot machine helps you be successful. That's what helps you get you on top of the podium. But if you're just a regular human being and a regular adult in our modern world, being that critical is so debilitating. And I was struggling a lot with that. So you will definitely hear more about why I decided to write this book in the first place. But To sum it up in one sentence, it's because I couldn't find anything else out there that made sense of the modern athlete journey and my attachment to the athlete identity. I am self-publishing this book. The only reason why I'm doing that is because to me, it was more important to get this content out into the world. Even if 2 people go on Amazon and buy the book and that's all the people in the world that read it, that's fine. Just in learning how to approach literary agents and go the traditional route of, going to a publishing house and having them take care of the entire process. Yeah, that would be great, but it was very time consuming to send proposal letters and query letters and reach out to these agents and publishing houses. It just was taking so much time, and I learned in pitching these agents, sometimes it could take up to 3 months to even hear a reply, whether it's yes or no. And for me, that was just too much time wasted where, in my opinion, in my very biased opinion, I feel like this book could be so helpful to athletes of any level. And I just deemed it was more important to self-publish and get this book out in the world than to wait 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, however long a publishing house might take to take this project on and publish it. So for that's the only reason why I'm deciding to self-publish, is because I want to get this book and this content out in the world sooner rather than later. So here we go. If you're listening to this episode, it's either Tuesday, July 13th or after that date. So that is officially our pre-release date. And again, the official launch date will be September 21st, 2021. You can buy the book on Amazon. So here we go. Thank you for listening. The book is titled The Eye of the Tiger, but I as in identity, not I as in eyeball. Subtitle, The Athlete Identity and Remedying Sport's Greatest Conflicts. Written by yours truly, Kim Carducci. Before we get into chapter 1, I'm still working on the preface to fine tune it, but I'll read a few paragraphs from the very beginning of the preface. My athlete identity was ruining my life. I retired from collegiate swimming a decade ago, yet my intense drive toward perfectionist ideals plagued me in adulthood. I was stuck in a never-ending hamster wheel of desiring more, faster, stronger, smarter, prettier, nicer, happier, better. I was burning bright, burning fast, and burning out. Ultimately, my extreme behavior led to a heartbreaking pitfall, hurting the person I loved the most. Enough was enough. I needed to understand why I was the way I was. My personality traits, such as my relentless competitive nature and lack of compassion, were reinforced over 15 years as an athlete. Those traits needed to be examined, understood, and delicately resolved, as I was on the fast track to a lifetime of unhappiness. So, I decided to sit down and write a book. This book. I researched psychology principles, observed the most elite athletes of our time, reviewed my own life experiences, and attempted to unravel what it means to be an athlete. If you're reading this, I'm glad you have this book in your hands, but I wrote this for myself. I embarked on this project because there wasn't anything out there to help me navigate, unpack, decipher, and grow from the athlete identity. Therapy had not worked. There was no YouTube series to follow. There wasn't anything I could find about the modern athlete journey that made sense of it all. This book is what I wish I had when I was 21. Chapter 1. What if athletes took care of their minds just as much as they did their bodies? This is the question American distance runner and 2016 Olympian Alexi Pappas posed in a New York Times op-ed. Pappas was diagnosed with severe clinical depression following her Olympic performance. She recently opened up about her struggle with suicidal thoughts and battle with darker emotions. Interestingly enough, Pappas credits the revelation that saved her life to a conversation she had with her doctor. He suggested a parallel approach to healing her mind the same way she heals her body. Just as you treat a scratch on your knee, you can also treat a scratch on your brain. This thinking was the light switch for Papa's approach to overcoming her depression. As athletes, we too can adopt this approach to our minds when we inevitably experience the valleys that come with chasing a dream. Those inescapable valleys every athlete experiences at one time or another include moments of defeat, injury, and retirement from sport for good. What if athletes had the same level of support to heal those mental struggles as we do to support physical performance? What might an athlete with a well-supported, healthy mind even look like? What might the sports world even look like? What if athletes took care of their minds just as much as they did their bodies? And let's zoom out for a moment. Mental health concerns for athletes may seem low on the list of worldly problems to tackle, and possibly undeserving of our attention. After all, athletes play games and race races. What could be so traumatic about a life like that? Global issues like world hunger, terrorism, and human trafficking seem much more dire and deserving of our support. Boom. There's the stigma. The stigma in sports that disallows acknowledgement of mental health. The stigma in sports that disallows recognizing the severity of a suffering mind. When Naomi Osaka, top women's professional tennis player, refused to participate in the 2021 French Open post-match press conferences and ultimately withdrew from the tournament, citing mental health concerns, she received backlash. Would it be different if she tore her ACL or fractured a bone and couldn't walk? Because we can see physical injuries, they are much easier pills to swallow than understanding internal dilemmas of the mind. This stigma is largely why the sports community today lacks the resources, support, understanding, and useful knowledge on how best to navigate the athlete journey when times get tough. Let's take a look at the downside of mental health neglect in sports. Consider the following. A 13-year-old volleyball player commits suicide during the pandemic. Suicide is currently the third leading cause of death among NCAA athletes. Swimming Olympic champion Michael Phelps contemplated suicide after winning 8 gold medals in Beijing, unable to leave his bedroom for weeks. NBA player Kevin Love suffered a panic attack in the middle of a professional game. NFL player Hayden Hurst attempted suicide in his apartment. MLB player Drew Robinson lost an eye in a failed suicide attempt in early 2020. Professional soccer coach Cesare Prandelli retired to cope with profound distress. Aerial skier Jarrett Speedy Peterson killed himself in 2011, just a year and a half after winning a silver medal at the Olympics. Unfortunately, I could go on, but you get the point. Even when that stigma inevitably creeps in to point out other worldly issues in greater need of our support, the heartbreaking statistics on athletes suffering mental health can no longer be ignored. The intent of this book is not to drown us in sorrow. Rather, it is written with the intent to illuminate a path that participation in sports doesn't have to look like this. We owe it to ourselves as athletes, fans, coaches, and participants in the world of sports to acknowledge the intense emotional journey of competing. Given how far physical development has come in sports this century, it's about time we developed the same for mental strength and conditioning. It's about time we further develop mental strategies and coping skills, so when we inevitably hit the road bumps that make up the daily trials and tribulations of being an elite athlete, we're equipped with the mental strength to handle them. Defeat, injury, and retirement are some of the most difficult moments athletes face on their journey, and this book is intended to support you through them all. The first half, Athlete Identity. Part 1 of the book is semi-autobiographical, focusing on my athletic career and my own journey through the road of victory, defeat, and eventual retirement. I draw on my experiences to help shed light and deconstruct the why behind the events, decisions, thoughts, and feelings that make up an athlete's journey. Our deeper psyche of how we identify as an athlete tells us a lot about why we behave in certain ways or feel certain emotions. For example, why do athletes struggle sometimes to the point of suicide when they retire from their sport? When we look closely at what it means to be an athlete, we are able to uncover many insights, where insights are the building blocks to developing our understanding. With this basis of understanding, we can decipher meaning, apply new knowledge, and help create positive change. This basis of understanding clears the path for us to truly figure things out. Rather than forcibly struggle through muddy waters trying to survive, we wipe away the mud to view ourselves with crystal clear glasses. Some of the questions we're going to answer include, what does it mean to have an athlete identity? Why do we build an athlete identity? How do we build an athlete identity? How does that affect my life? Why am I addicted to winning? How come I can't accept defeat? Why does injury suck so much? What are the typical thought patterns I have based on being an athlete? What is the underlying psychology at play that explains the way I feel? The second half of the book is our practical guide. Part 2 of the book will take the understanding we have constructed of the athlete identity and offer a practical guide to navigate difficult athletic terrain. In specific, the second half focuses on the topics of defeat, injury, and retirement. Viewing the full landscape of our athlete identity with crystal clear glasses allows us to create change. The traditional complacent mindset of sticking it out is not only outdated, but can be harmful, as many athletes have pointed out. In one of the most advanced eras in mental health and psychological well-being, and the most physically advanced sports era known to mankind, we owe it to ourselves to pause, dive deep into our athlete minds, and utilize available tools and strategies to develop a healthier athlete mindset. We will answer some of the questions, including, how can I soften the harsh blow of defeat? How can I be patient when I'm benched due to injury? How do I build a new identity in a life post-sport? How can I accept my outcomes? How have others navigated similar situations? Before we unpack the athlete identity, I want to highlight the importance of self-awareness. I want to outline a general concession, and I finally want to offer a reality check. Awareness leads the way. Would you rather act and not be aware of your actions? Talk and not be aware of your words? Would you rather listen to people and not be aware of what you're hearing? Or see things and not be aware of what you're looking at? And that's a quote from Anthony DeMello in his book, Awareness. Self-awareness, defined as the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and introspection, is the initial torch lighting our path. Without this torch, we simply have no idea how to make it to the next town. However, this torch can be incredibly difficult to light. Adopting an objective view of ourselves is not easy or possible without others. Our lives are lived from within, grounded in a particular experience from which we frame, relate, and understand the world around us. Our thought patterns and behaviors, avoidance of vulnerability, and rose-colored self-perception are barriers we must punch through to accurately reflect on us. It can be uncomfortable at times to engage with the human side of us outside of being the perfect athlete, but developing self-awareness is critical to understand who we are. The eternal question. Self-awareness is critical to develop an ability to make sounder decisions, build stronger relationships, and communicate more effectively. So setting our ego down on the bench, setting our discomfort down on the bench, we are going to take a closer look at ourselves with compassionate curiosity. The deeper we dive, the more headway we make toward better understanding an athlete's life challenges. You, the reader and athlete, will have opportunities to look inward, really look at who you are, and connect the dots of your athlete journey to draw conclusions and make sense of the world. This is going to be a delightful, confusing, uncomfortable, and priceless experience of self-awareness. As you're reading and relating back to your own life, be honest. Be honest with yourself. No one is looking at you. No one is recording your progress. Whatever you build here is between you and these pages. You might as well make the most of the process. Open up to full honesty with yourself and begin tasting the sweet relief of understanding. Can you imagine how much lighter your life might feel when you reach clarity on confusion? You only change what you understand. What you do not understand and are not aware of, you repress. You don't change. But when you understand it, it changes. Another quote from Anthony DeMello. A minor concession and how much we love sports. Defeat, injury, and retirement are the three most excruciating moments we experience as athletes. At times, it may seem as though I'm writing from a pocket of pessimism, but I am intentionally hyper-magnifying the darker side of sports, as these moments require the most care. Losing an important game, tearing your Achilles tendon, or hanging up your cleats for good pose challenges in your life that blissful winning does not. It is the tougher moments that require a bit more time and attention. Before diving deep into these topics, take a moment with me to appreciate the gift of simply having sports in our lives in the first place. Because despite the more difficult content in this book, I do not want to detract from the overarching goodness that sports provide. Sports are a fantastic invention. You learn life lessons, you have fun exercising, you enjoy spectating, and you make new friends. You bond with teammates and coaches. You learn how to set goals and dedicate yourself to achieving them. More broadly, sport connects vastly different cultures from geographically dispersed parts of the world. In what other category of life can an American from New Jersey visit a country in Africa and assimilate into the group by kicking around a football? Just like we learn history of empires conquering lands across the globe, we also revel in sports history, honoring legends such as Muhammad Ali fighting in the Rumble in the Jungle, or Jesse Owens winning 4 gold medals in the 1936 Olympics. We love to play the games, we love to watch the games, we love living in the bubble of athletics. Talking about the greatness of sport and its impact on humans could be its own book series. So for our purposes, we will leave it at this all agreed upon statement. Sports are fantastic inventions. One of the greatest gifts sports gives us is the opportunity to experience tremendous amounts of individual progress. Every new skill learned or game won is a testament to hard work paying off. Tony Robbins, arguably the most prominent coach and motivational speaker of our generation, equates happiness with progress. When we feel improvements, we feel happy. Sport gives us the perfect sandbox to safely observe our progress and reach those feelings of confidence and self-esteem, meeting our emotional and psychological needs. The potential that an individual can reach in his or her sport is awe-inspiring to witness, or even achieve yourself. In 2019, before a global pandemic shut down most of the world's sporting events, I was able to snag a courtside ticket to the US Open Tennis Championships in New York. I remember walking down the stairs to my seat in Arthur Ashe Stadium, watching Roger Federer warm up for his match in the East Coast summer sunshine. Federer was probably 30 feet away from me standing on the baseline, and I couldn't believe how close the seats got you to the players. I also couldn't believe the laws of physics, watching him effortlessly hit beautiful backhand after backhand at speeds I couldn't fathom, while dropping the ball right inside the baseline every single shot. To this day, I still don't fully understand how professional tennis players can hit with such power, speed, and topspin to keep the ball inside the court, the same size tennis court I play on. For me, a moment like that, watching one of tennis's all-time greats, makes me appreciate the mere fact that a sport like tennis exists, and I was able to spectate a GOAT in his craft. I admire the opportunity to watch an athlete who has dedicated his life to honing every minutia of detail of playing, performing, and competing. A moment like that makes me appreciate not just tennis, not just sports, but the incredible athletes that participate. Sports are also chock full of drama, and there aren't many things humans love more than drama. Entire industries, such as reality television and tabloid magazines, exist because of drama. There is nothing more exciting than watching a pool of incredibly talented athletes fight for the top spot. When 20 Formula One drivers, each thinking he is the best in the pack, rev their engines at the start of a race, everyone can feel the unbearable amount of tension and pressure mounting before the start light turns green. We love stories of an underdog overcoming all odds to defeat the longtime legend. We love speculating who will win in the matchup of old veteran versus young prodigy. Think of the 2019 Super Bowl game with the Patriots veteran coach Bill Belichick up against your younger prodigy Sean McVay, head coach for the LA Rams. We love competition. We find gratification in seeing a winner become a winner. We also find gratification in seeing losers humbled. Our heartbeat increases when it comes down to the wire. Ancient Rome's gladiator fights set the precedent for the highest of stakes. Countless spectators gravitated to the Colosseum to watch the mano-a-mano fights and wager on who they thought would walk away a winner. Battles, opponents, and gold medals have been part of human history for as long as any of us can remember. We crave the storylines, the characters, the happily ever afters, and the all-encompassing drama that is sport. In a more poetic sense, sporting events such as the Olympic Games bring countries from all over the world together in a way that no other activity can. Despite a country's political beliefs or opposing lifestyles, sports create an even playing field for all athletes from all backgrounds and cultures to safely compete against one another. The Olympics are a global cultural icon, allowing countries to set aside differences and come together for the sole purpose of sport. How amazing and powerful! Let's also express gratitude for having sports as a fun way to exercise. If sports did not exist, we would be stuck with treadmills and ellipticals and weightlifting repetitions. At least with sports, we can run up and down a field and kick a ball into a goal. We can dive into a pool and swim laps to win first place. We can sprint around a track to beat the runner next to us. We can move our bodies and exercise our physical strength in an activity that also engages our minds. Sports make exercise fun, and I'm glad I don't have to stay fit in a world without games. Whether playing or spectating, I am grateful I live in this era of modern sport. There are so many jaw-dropping moments of athletic abilities. I love watching the best of the best. I love playing and improving my own skills. I love the gratification of defeating an opponent and proving my efforts to myself. I appreciate the friendships and bonding experiences that no one else will understand. I am grateful for the memories and life lessons accumulated along the way. Yes, even the painful ones. I appreciate the entertaining fitness. I crave the drama. I love oohing and awing at the accomplishments of heroes past. I truly appreciate an athlete's pursuit of becoming. Take a moment and review your own athlete journey. What have been some of the most inspiring, motivational moments you have experienced? Have you seen a teammate or professional athlete accomplish something incredible? Have you yourself pushed your own limits to achieve a goal you never thought you would reach? Have you bonded with teammates to create lifelong friendships? Have you mentored a young athlete coming up the ranks? Who mentored you as you experienced your own growing pains? There are many positive reasons to express gratitude for sports, regardless of your level of competition or longevity in the game. As we appropriately root ourselves with the gratitude sports deserve, we can dig into the tough moments with a healthy perspective that both the ups and downs are part of the journey that make up the very games we love so much. Reality check. This book is not going to be your end-all be-all solution to become an impenetrable force of positivity, happiness, and strength during the toughest moments of sport. That is simply unrealistic for any human being. But we can make strides by educating ourselves on understanding the implications of our athlete identity. We can continue to open up more space to have conversations about struggles that have traditionally been publicly avoided. So join me on this journey as we take a closer look into the challenges of defeat, injury, and retirement in the life of an athlete. This book will help you adopt new effective coping skills that leverage renowned psychology principles as well as practical advice to help you thrive when things get tough. Learn from some of the greatest world-class athletes in history. Relate to someone who has been through it. as most non-athletes will never understand the unique challenges in sport. Most importantly, find clarity in your own experiences to better thrive for tomorrow. Use this book as your tool to dig deeper, untangle, and make sense of your life as an athlete. And of course, expect that the work in this book requires practice on your part. Just as we practice our swim flip turn or basketball jump shots countless times, the same rationale applies to developing our mental skills to cope better during moments of defeat, injury, or retirement. And that concludes Chapter 1 of our book, The Eye of the Tiger. To pre-order your copy, visit everythingathletes.com. The official release date is September 21st, but you can certainly pre-order your copy today. There are also signed copies available. So check out everythingathletes.com, and I can't wait to help you on your own athlete journey.